It is time for the NBA playoffs on TNT again.
Short time ago at TD Garden, this is Isaiah Thomas. And this is a day after he learned of the tragic death of his little sister. And he's going to try to play in Game 1 against the Chicago Bulls. That is tough to watch. Welcome to Studio J in Atlanta. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley. Isaiah Thomas is an all-star, the league's #3 scorer, and the leader of the Boston Celtics. He is also 1 day removed from learning of the death of his sister China in an auto accident. Dennis Scott is working the sidelines for Game 1 of the series and filed this report.
Thank you. As we all know, the tragic loss of Isaiah Thomas' sister, China Thomas. After talking to Brad Stevens, he will play. It may be 1 minute or it may be 40 minutes, totally up to him. And after talking to a few teammates, they know nothing they can say to make him feel better outside of giving him a hug and make sure they play hard tonight. I was able to get over to the arena early and watch him warm up, shot the ball well, looked pretty connected. Let's face it, we know he's going to have a heavy heart. After he got done shooting, he went to sit down, he started getting emotional, and Avery Bradley walked over and gave him a hug. He will play tonight, guys, but let's see how well he plays.
Absolutely no way to have any idea what is going on in the mind of Isaiah Thomas. And you heard Dennis Scott say he might play 40 minutes, might play 1 minute. It's whatever he feels capable of doing. Brad Stevens kind of reiterated that same thing when I heard a soundbite from him earlier. But this is, it's a basketball game to be played, but this is that intersection of real life, and real life wins here.
I'm not even sure what to say. I'm not feeling comfortable with him sitting on the sideline crying like that. That makes me uncomfortable. So that tells me he's not in shape to play. I mean, I don't know how this night is going to turn out, but to be sitting on the sideline a few minutes before the game crying, that makes me uncomfortable for him. That's just not a good look, in my personal opinion. I mean, he is clearly devastated, like we all would be if we lost a sibling. But sitting on the sideline, like right before the game, that makes me uncomfortable.
I can't imagine the pain and grief he's going through right now. This happened to me one time, not before a playoff game, but before a game, and I couldn't play. I ended up playing that game. I think you guys covered the game. I came in late against the Bulls. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to do anything. And then my father called me and said I should play. You know, these guys mentioned it early. Basketball is our sanctuary. It is our safe place. But
well, that's interesting, Shaq. How did you deal with that? How did you arrive at the decision, aside from the input from your mom and dad?
You know, Chuck and I have similar backgrounds. You know, our mothers were best friends. And Chuck loved his grandmother to death, and so did I. You know, my grandmother was my everything, and I didn't even know she was sick. And then, you know, I got the call that she passed away. I was there when she passed away, and I just didn't, feel like doing anything. You know, the Magic said, take your time, we don't need you to come back, and I was just traveling. I was in New Jersey. I just drove to Atlanta, drove to Savannah, drove to Dublin, and then my mom and dad said, okay, she's in a better place. She's watching you. You need to continue what you do. She'll be proud of you. She'll be watching, and that's why I played.
Well, I think oftentimes we look at professional athletes as superhuman. Shaq has a Superman emblem on him, on his arm or his chest. We believe that because guys like Isaiah Thomas, who's 5'10", does extraordinary things on the basketball court that most 5'10" guys could never even dream of doing. However, this is a time of, a lot of times you don't realize you need help. You need guidance. You need professional help in these kind of situations, spiritually and emotionally. So I think as well, I'm pretty sure the Boston Celtics have put those things around him, giving him that leeway. But this is a system of coping with a loss that is devastating to anyone in any profession in any time. But you can't exclude the fact that you're a professional athlete and think that you at times can be superhuman.
You know what I thought about? And you saying it's a sanctuary, being on the floor. Once upon a time, in Calgary at the Olympics in 1988, and you may remember this, Dan Jansen, speed skater, best in the world.
His sister, right?
He learned that day that his sister Jane had died from leukemia. And it was the same kind of thing. Do I race? I've been training for 4 years for this night. And he decided to do it. And then he slipped in one of the turns. And for him to do that, it was inconceivable. But it just pointed to the fact that there was so much going on. And you look at Isaiah Thomas in tears on the side, that it may be a sanctuary, but you can't get away from what is uppermost in your mind.
I think he'll be glad, like, this is just me thinking, I think he'll be glad when the game starts. Because as a player, we have so much going on in our mind. We got the game plan, we got you wondering what plays to run and things like that. You got so much going through your mind once the game starts. But like this, in his free time, I know it's gonna be painful, but I know if he's going to play today, it's gonna be a relief for him. At least it was for me, because I had to think about so much going on in the game, and it gave me 2 hours of pain relief, as I called it. And then you go back after the game. What's gonna be interesting for this series is, when do you plan the funeral? Because, I know the team probably wants to go. They got to work around game days. I know that's simplistic, but those are things his family is going to have to think about.
No, you're right.
You're right. The other thing, Chuck, he's playing against another team tonight. And that emotion, other players on the other team feel for him.
Yes.
So that sanctuary is not the same, because it's not me against you anymore. He's going to have 12 guys from the other team come over to him and give their sympathy and their condolences.
And it's hard, and it will be
hard for him to shake
It will
that.
be impossible to not be emotional at that time.
Yeah.
And I think about, the fans in Boston, and we all know Boston's strong, and you know that when he is introduced tonight, that place
Gonna go crazy.
will go crazy, and that will be another moment to try to deal with it emotionally. It's
That's why I said I think he will be so glad when the game actually starts.
Right.
But then
Right.
you will get some relief, because, listen, Kenny talk about those other players on the team, because we're an NBA family. They're going to wish him best. They're going to give their condolences. But then once the game starts, the game starts.
It's on.
Yes.
Exactly. We don't need to talk X's and O's on this. You're going to watch the game in about a half hour here on TNT. When we do come back, though, we will have highlights of what's going on already on this Easter Sunday. And by the way, happy Easter to you folks. Glad you're with us. Golden State, Portland. Great ball game. Highlights of a real shootout out there in Oakland, California.